Hello, Foxes. This is Mrs. Poor with a book today titled Recycling and Waste, Global Citizens, Environmentalism. This book is written by Ellen LeBrake. Chapter 1, History, Making Things New Again. Environmentalism is a big word, but its meaning is simple. Practicing environmentalism means being a friend to Earth and all its creatures. Environmentalists want to keep our air healthy, our land clean, and our water fresh. They want to take care of our plants and animals by making sure our planet remains a safe place to live. Some environmentalists focus on encouraging people to stop polluting. Others work to protect our plants and animals. One of the most important environmental jobs is to teach people about recycling. The story of recycling. Recycling is when something old is broken down and made into something new. This can be done with paper, plastic, glass, and many metals. The more we recycle, the less trash and waste there is. This means less pollution on our land, in the air, and in our water. By recycling, we also save our natural resources, like trees, from being made into new products. For example, 900 million trees are cut down each year to make paper. The concept of recycling isn't new. In early Roman times, bronze coins were melted down and made into statues. During wartime, the Romans melted down jewelry and made it into weapons. Recycling played an important role during World War II. In the United States, people collected tin cans, scrap, metal, and aluminum foil. They also collected old toys and pots and pans. The metals were then melted down and used to make tanks and weapons for fighting in the war. After the war was over, people didn't recycle as much. Machines and factories created goods cheaply and in mass amounts. People began throwing things out rather than trying to find a way to reuse or remake them. This new way of life was called throwaway living. Landfills across the country filled up with trash. Boxes should be flattened before recycling. Landfills continue to fill up more and more space. The recycling symbol reminds everyone to reduce and reuse. Earth Day. People began to understand that all this trash was hurting Earth and all its creatures, including humans. They also realized that if this trend continued, we would run out of materials needed to survive. Recycling programs and centers began to pop up across the United States. In 1964, the all-aluminum can was made. These cans, used for sodas and other drinks, could be recycled to make brand new cans. Soon afterward, the universal symbol for recycling was created by designer Gary Anderson. There are 3 arrows forming a triangle. One arrow symbolizes reduce. The less things you use, the less waste you have. Another arrow means reuse. Use things over and over, not just once. And the third one represents recycling. On April 22nd, 1970, the first National Earth Day was held. More than 20 million Americans celebrated at fairs throughout the country. The day inspired people to learn about all the ways they can help our planet. They realized recycling is one way to do this. America generates 243 million tons of trash a year. This is much more than any other country. Today, there are 9,000 community curbside recycling programs across the country. We recycle 82 million tons, or about 38% of our waste. The goal of the United States is to eventually recycle 75% of its total trash. Developing questions. Did World War II make Americans better or worse at recycling? What was the purpose of Earth Day? These two questions are examples of recall questions. Recall questions are meant to help you think about something you just read and answer questions about it. They help you remember and learn from your reading. Recycling trucks in the United States can come as often as every week, depending on the city. Chapter 2, Geography. Recycling around the world. People recycle all over the world. Some countries are better at it than others. Austria and Germany are winning the recycling race. They recycle about 63% of their total trash. South Korea isn't far behind. Residents there recycle 59% of their garbage. Ways of the world. Different countries have different ways of encouraging people to recycle. In Germany, the government charges you money for every garbage can you fill up, but recycling is always free. Sweden has converted its garbage into energy. Its burned up waste powers about 250,000 homes. However, Sweden has become so good at this, it has run out of garbage. The country makes in trash, the country takes its trash from its neighbor, Norway, to keep the power going. Some cities in Canada even recycle cigarette butts. These pieces of litter can be turned into plastic through recycling methods. Composting. Wasting food is a big problem all over the world. Roughly 1/3 of the food on Earth, about 1.3 billion tons, gets thrown out. When food waste is dumped into landfills, it releases methane, which pollutes the air. Composting is a word for food recycling. This is when food and plants are put together to decay naturally. Instead of food wasting away in garbage piles, the compost gets turned into soil to help other plants and crops grow. One way some countries encourage composting is by having public cans for different purposes. This means people separate their trash. Paper goes in one bin, glass goes in another, and food waste goes in yet another bin. Austria turns 34% of its waste into fertilizer. This is more than any other country. San Francisco, California, is trying to become a zero waste city by 2020. This means the entire city would send no garbage at all to landfills. San Francisco is already the United States' best city at composting. It sends more than 600 tons of food waste and yard clippings to a facility where it is turned into natural fertilizer. Farms in the area then buy this soil to grow their new plants. Do you hear the music? People are rewarded with music every time they recycle in Helsingborg, Sweden. The town has installed speakers in its recycling bins. Every time someone puts a bottle in the bin, a tune is played. It's music to Earth's ears. How might this encourage more people to recycle? Chapter 3, Civics. Everybody helps. The Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, was started in the United States in 1970. Its goal is to create a cleaner and healthier environment for the American people. One of the ways the EPA tries to do this is through recycling. On its website, the EPA teaches people about the importance of recycling. The United States doesn't have any national laws that require people to recycle. Instead, recycling laws differ from state to state. State-by-state rules. Some states have stricter laws than others when it comes to recycling. Some states, like Wisconsin and Minnesota, ban landfills. Other states, like California and Connecticut, have created bottle bills. The state pays a certain amount for each bottle or can that a person recycles. Rhode Island and New Jersey are the best states at recycling. They have more recycling curbside pickups for people, as well as more recycling plants than any of the other states per capita. This is partially because they have to. These two small states have the least amount of land for landfills. Recycling champions. Since there are no federal laws for recycling, many people and private organizations work to make recycling a top priority. Recycle Across America is an organization started by businesswoman Michelle Headland. The company teaches people the right way to recycle. Many people put garbage into recycling bins. The contaminants or ruins everything in the bin. This contaminates or ruins everything in the bin, and then nothing in there can be recycled at all. Recycle Across America thinks that if all bins were labeled correctly, this wouldn't happen. They want to ensure every garbage bin is properly labeled for paper, glass, cans, and plastic, compost, and landfill. All this labeling would cut down on confusion and make recycling easier for everybody. The most recycled product? Cars. Cars are the most recycled product in the world. 10 million cars a year are recycled in the United States. Recycling all these cars parts keeps 11 million tons of steel and other metals out of the landfills. Developing claims and using evidence. Most people think recycling is a good idea, but the United States doesn't have any national laws that require people to recycle. Do some research using the internet and your local library. Can you find evidence supporting a national law for recycling? Using evidence, form your own opinion on this subject. Chapter 4, Economics. The numbers behind recycling. Recycling doesn't just help the planet, it also generates money and jobs. In the United States, there are more than 50,000 recycling companies with more than 1 million employees. The payroll for all these people is more than $37 billion a year. The more we recycle, the more jobs and money we bring into our country. This is true around the world too. China leads the world in making electronic devices such as cell phones and computers. Many of the products they use to make these devices come from recycled materials such as copper. The wires used to charge your cell phones could be the same copper used to make your Christmas tree lights years ago. Electronic waste. One of the biggest growing sections of the recycling industry is electronic waste, or e-waste. E-waste is materials from electronic equipment such as computers, cell phones, and tablets. Around the world, 30 million to 50 million tons of electronic equipment is tossed into landfills every year. These devices often contain metal such as gold, copper, and silver. The value of all this waste is estimated at $218 billion. Many companies are working to figure out how best to recycle these electronics. Some companies are starting buyback programs. They will buy back people's old cell phones and computers and take them to plants where they can be recycled. This keeps these devices out of landfills and also helps people and companies make money. Communicating conclusions. Before reading this book, did you know about recycling? Now that you know more, why do you think this is an important issue? Learn even more about recycling and the importance of helping protect Earth and all its creatures. Every week, look up different organizations that support recycling. Share what you learn with friends at school or with family at home. Taking informed action. Do you want to recycle more, but don't know how? There are many ways you can get involved and many different organizations that you can explore. Check them out online. Here are three to help you start your research. Recycle Across America, Learn about how this organization works to get labels on all recycling cans across the country. Planet Aid. Discover how this organization helps people recycle their clothes and shoes. America Recycles Day. Find out about National Recycling Day. Think about it. Recycling reduces trash in our landfills, stops wild animals from eating garbage they find, and keeps us from cutting down trees and polluting our waters. People around the world recycle, but we can still do much more. More than 60% of the trash in the United States still gets dumped into landfills. How do you think this recycling problem compares to the world's other problems? Use the data you find in your research to complete your argument.